Okay guys, we're going to witness some amazing things. Bible prophecy is being fulfilled. Things are happening that we may not have even realized. I hope you have watched the previous video on the dedication, the Hanukkah of the altar. Many times when you read throughout the scriptures the word dedicated in English, in the Hebrew and in the Aramaic, it is Hanukkah. So we were on site here in Jerusalem and witnessed the altar dedication. The same day, we were led by the Most High into a hidden synagogue. And we're going to talk about the significance of that hidden synagogue as it relates to the 70 elders, the 24 elders. We know that these are heavenly councils, and these things are already set up. What happened after we saw the dedication of the altar, we saw the hidden synagogue, then we went to the Temple Institute and witnessed their plans to build the temple. As part of building the temple, we will show you video footage of them with another facility, showing the architectural designs of a facility, a building for these 70 elders. Actually, in the video, they say 71, but this has to do in the scriptures of the 70 elders. It's a heavenly council. So this synagogue has 70 seats. We're going to show you a little bit more on that. We're going to show you the architectural design of this facility that they say is in the future. However, it's already built. It's already there. So what is happening is things are hidden. Things are underground. The hidden synagogue is underground. It's at the western wall already. And it has the seats that are in Ezekiel chapter 8. Okay, we're going to look at Ezekiel chapter 8. But let's first look at this synagogue. I'll show you quick, just a few seconds, and then we're going to slowly go through the symbolism, the things that are in this hidden synagogue. This synagogue is part of their temple. The temple is already built, and you probably didn't realize it. The altars are already been dedicated, but you probably didn't realize it. So let's look at the synagogue. Okay, here is the synagogue above us. You can see a menorah and the ball, and let's take a look at the other side. Okay, and here's the other view of the synagogue. And the other view of the new synagogue. And here is the menorah. Okay, we had a quick clip of the synagogue. Now let's take a look at it and focus a little bit on this building and what it is we're looking at. Okay, here's a photograph of the synagogue inside facing this ball. Certainly what we have is all kinds of occult symbolism, but we're going to keep this very simple and be very focused. Herein we have this ball, and you can see it has a fire. At this point it's not lit, but if you had noticed in the previous clip, it was red. What we were doing is we were down below, back here, viewing up, looking at this, and this fire was red. Okay, so that's one thing that we have. Now, the thing we want to draw your attention to here is the seats. So you can see here we have chairs. Now what we can do is when we count them, okay, we have various sections. See how there's a section of seats here? And see how there's a partition and a section of seats here. This is the seats that are in a circular fashion around this kind of altar, if you were, this synagogue. All this, remember, is underground in the western wall. Now, if we count these seats, there are 70 seats. There's 18 over here, 18 over here, and 34 here. Okay, this is in the temple, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But these are the seats that we can see in Ezekiel chapter 8. In Ezekiel chapter 8, it talks about the elders sitting in 70 elders offering incense, making offerings hidden. He said, "Son of man, dig into the walls, look in hidden places." This is a hidden synagogue, and 70 seats. Then it says there were 25 also listed in Ezekiel chapter 8. Now, if we count the seats here, there's 24. All right? So, this is fulfilling Ezekiel chapter 8. Why? Well, these are the order of heavenly councils. We know in Revelation there are 24 elders, right? Well, what they're doing is they're counterfeiting. They're counterfeit seats, okay? These are councils. Council of 70 elders. Council of 24 elders. They're counterfeiting the pattern of heaven, okay? Now, the next thing we want to do is look at the architectural designs of the temple. We'll have 2 videos we'll show you. One of them is the building and facility for these 70 elders. Now, let's take a moment and scrutinize this video. Judges in a semicircle, right? Okay, so we have the architectural plans of the Third Holy Temple. And we have this grandiose building being described. Here is the circle. And notice what it says. Seats for the students of law. Okay, so there are sections to this. See how we have in gold these seats? We have a desk for protocols. And look at how grandiose this is. All right, now here's our semicircle. See, notice that? And then we have seats for the public. It means it must be public, must be viewed. Okay, so we have this very grandiose building. Now what's happening here is this is plans they're saying as part of the temple.
This would have to, you're saying that this is what they're going to build. Very grandiose. Look at very nice architectural designs, all kinds of, structures and facilities. And look at this. Guys, this is already built. What we're saying is this has already happened. It's just happened hidden underground. Now, 71 seats for the Sanhedrin judges. That's not the right number. It's 70 elders, okay? But there's an error. They're saying 71. Just like they said 25 in Ezekiel, okay? So this is, think about this. This is all big, grandiose plans. But it would appear that this is something in the future, but it's not. It's already happened. Okay? Restore our judges in the first. Now, if you're not familiar with that, it's in Isaiah 1:26, and we have a video on the 24 elders. Okay? 24 elders sit in council in the book of Revelation. All right? But renew our days as in the days of old. Okay? Again, these are verses in Isaiah. But they're making this big plan of all this, but guys, it's happening. Okay? It's happening. And let's take a moment and look at some other photos in this Temple Institute Museum. Here they're displaying the circle, half circle of the elders and the scribes. This is what the heavenly councils look like. Okay? Here we have the 120 priests blowing silver trumpets. Now this is what we can see in 2 Chronicles, and we're going to go over these verses here, but they're showing this. Now, this is all to the glory of Iesous Christos, the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. These are the 120 priests blowing 120 trumpets, okay, in a governmental council or order, okay? And they're showing this as part of their rebuilding of the temple.
Now let's look at Ezekiel chapter 8. In Ezekiel chapter 8, we have Ezekiel seeing this temple. And when he sees it, it says in verse 5, Son of man, lift up your eyes towards the north, and I lift up my eyes towards the north, and behold, at the gate of the altar, the image of jealousy. So we saw before the altar that was dedicated, like we said, in the same day of the altar dedication, we were led to this hidden synagogue. We've showed you the synagogue, we've shown you the seats, right? Verse 7, he brought me to the door of the court, and when I looked, behold, a hole in the wall. So what we had to do is we had to go underground by the wall. The wall was the western wall. The western wall runs underground. And underground is where they built this synagogue. And he said to me, Son of man, now dig in the wall. And I digged in the wall, and behold, a door. So we've had to dig here. We've had to dig in the Word. We've had to dig in the Scriptures to see all the information we're showing you. Go in, behold the wicked abominations that they do. So he goes in. Verse 11. There stood before me 70 of the ancients of the house of Israel. In the midst of them stood Zaniah with a censer and a thick cloud of incense. When we saw the altar, there was a representative from the nation of Guatemala standing by the altar. Incense was coming up from that altar. Go to the other video and watch that. He represented the 70 nations that the Jews invited to their altar ceremony. Okay? So here we have 70 men of the ancients of the house of Israel. Okay? And you can see in the synagogue, seats, 70 seats. Okay? Let's keep going. And he said to me, Son of man, have you seen what the ancients do in dark? Every man in the chambers of his imagery. Okay? So there we see it. He's showing us in these hidden secret places, the temple is being built. And he brought me, in verse 16, he brought me into the inner court of the Lord Yahweh's house. And behold, a door in the temple between the porch and the altar. And there were 25 men, and their backs towards the temple, and their faces towards the east. Now, their backs are towards the temple. When we showed you the altar ceremony, what happened is their backs are towards the temple. They're at the west. Okay, they're at the west wall, outside wall of the city, the old city, not the western wall of the Wailing Wall is inside the city. But outside the city is a wall, and they held this altar dedication with their backs to where the temple would be. And that's exactly fulfilling Ezekiel 8. So we have 70. We saw the seats of the 70. Now we see the 25. 25 represented those 24 seats. And you say, Leeland, that's 24, not 25. Why is the difference? Well, these are counterfeit councils they're doing. Remember in the video they said 71 elders. It's never 71 elders. It's either 70 elders or 72. Okay? And we know that there's seats, a council of 24 elders. Well, there's 25. So, but we clearly have this whole architectural thing that they've described in 3D and shown to us that they're going to build. They've already built it. It's already happened. Okay? And all of this is fulfilling perfectly the temple that Ezekiel is seeing. So part of the temple has already been built. Now it's been built and it's already happened. They dedicated this last year. So last year they dedicated this aspect of the temple right before us. And we didn't even realize it. Now they dedicated the altar. Okay? The altar has been dedicated. The aspects of the temple are taking place right before our eyes on a precise schedule. On a schedule, Leeland? Yes. On a schedule. Let's look at the schedule. Okay?
Okay, remember how we were looking at this painting? In the painting we have 120 priests blowing 120 trumpets with cymbals and harps and psalteries. That's what this picture is describing. This painting is describing what we can see in Second Chronicles chapter 5. Without reading the whole thing, actually, I think we should read more here because we can find out some of these dates. All right. This is the work that Solomon made for the house to be finished, and all the things that his father David had dedicated, the silver, the gold, the instruments. Then Solomon assembled the elders, all right? Elders. The heads of tribes, the chief of the children of Israel into Jerusalem to bring up the Ark of the Covenant to the city of David, which is Zion. And the men assembled there around the king on the feast, which was in the 7th month. See that? Okay. Then let us go here, and we will see the Levites, which were the singers of Asaph, Heman, Jeduthun, with their sons and brethren, arrayed in white linen, with cymbals and psalteries and harps, stood at the east end of the altar, with 120 priests sounding the trumpets. Okay? So that is what they're alluding to. Okay? So that is a heavenly reenactment of the Ark of the Covenant. The priests waited in their offices, Levites with the instruments of music, of Yahweh and David the king made to praise the Lord, and his mercy endures forever. And David praised in their ministry, and the priests sounded their trumpets before them, and all Israel stood. And Solomon hallowed the middle court, that's where the altar is, for he'd offer burnt offerings and fat offerings in the brazen altar, which Solomon had made, was not able to receive all the burnt offerings. Also at the same time, Solomon kept the feast. What's the feast? Kept the feast 7 days. All of Israel with him, a great congregation from the entering of Hamath, that's in the north, to the river Egypt. On the 8th day, they made a solemn assembly. That's the 8th day of Sukkot. And they kept the dedication. In Hebrew, that is Hanukkah, of the altar, 7 days. And the feast, 7 days. On the 23rd day of the month, he sent them away. So we have a feast, that is the Feast of Tabernacles, or Sukkot, 7 days. Then there was a dedication of the altar, 7 days. Okay, now these 7 days do not overlap. It tells us in 1 Kings chapter 8 that it was 14 days. So what does this mean? Well, we have to go to Haggai to understand this. In Haggai chapter 2, verse 10, in the 24th day of the 9th month. In the both, you can see we have, it says second year, but both years of Darius. Now, Darius is Cyrus. And we told you about Cyrus' decree last year. But in Hebrew, this word is not second year, it is both years. Okay, both years. So that means that there's 2 years of Darius. Something happened on the 24th day of the 9th month in 1 year, and then happening on another year. And came the word of the Lord to Haggai the prophet, saying, Thus says the Lord of hosts, ask now the priests. And let's move along a little quickly. You can read that later. But in verse 15, right here, I'm praying, consider from this day upward. What day? The 24th day of the 9th month, from the stone that was laid upon the stone in the temple. Okay, so the stones and the dedication of the temple is Hanukkah. And remember, we had 7 days and 14 days. If we go back to 2017 and we look at the Enoch calendar, it's only the Enoch calendar, you will understand the things you're about to see. In the Enoch calendar, in the 9th month and the 24th day, okay, you see we have Cyrus here. So that's what it says in Haggai chapter 2, the 24th day of the 9th month. Consider this day upward. Now we saw that in 2 Chronicles, there were 7 days and 14 days. So if we start counting from this day, we count 14 days in 2017. By the way, this Cyrus, this 24th day of the 9th month fell on December 5th. That's when Donald Trump announced the move of the U.S. Embassy. Actually, it was either the 5th or the 6th, I don't remember. But the 24th day of the 9th month is Haggai. Then the first day of Hanukkah is the 25th day of the 9th month. So one of these days, he announced that. But we're counting, okay? What's going to happen is in 14 days from that 24th day of the 9th month, according to the Enoch calendar, we will then come to the 18th of December, 2017, and that is the 6th day of the 10th month. This is when they dedicated this temple. They dedicated this Sanhedrin council underground, that whole synagogue I showed you. That happened on this precise day. That happened as the first year of Darius, okay, year 1. Then there were year 2. Okay, remember both years of Darius. So in 2017, you see 2017, the 6th day of the 10th month, they dedicated this synagogue thing, this council. That brings us to 2018. Then, in 2018, this is the time we're in now. Same thing. From the 24th day of the 9th month, the 2nd year of Darius. Okay, remember both years of Darius. So we saw the first year. This is year 2. Consider from this day upward. And we count 7 days. We then come to December 10th, the precise day they dedicated the altar. So these are schedules. These are scheduled things. They are dedicating the temple. It's happening right before our eyes. And they're happening on precise dates. This is a schedule. So we consider from this day, 24th day of the 9th month forward. And we learn that it's 7 days to the dedication of the altar and 14 days in 1 Kings chapter 8. We can clearly see that the events in 2 Chronicles mirror those of Revelation chapter 11. Let's go and look at the events happening in 2 Chronicles again. So we have the Ark of the Covenant coming up to the city of David, which is Zion.
in the 7th month, okay, we have the priests and the trumpeters. Then what happens is they sing and give thanks, for your good and your mercy endures forever. And the house was filled with a cloud, even the house of the Lord. The priest could not stand to minister by reason of the cloud, for the glory of Yahweh filled the house. That is 2 Chronicles chapter 5. We go to Revelation. Remember in 2 Chronicles 5, they are dedicating the house and the altar. Revelation 11, verse 1, was given unto read like an Aran. An angel stood, said, rise, measure the temple and the altar. Okay, so we have the same thing, the temple and the altar. Then, in verse 16, the 24 elders which sat before God in their seats fell on their faces and worshiped God. Remember, the ministers, the Levites, could not stand to minister. Same thing. Singing, verse 17. We give thanks, O God, for you are almighty, which are to come, because you have taken you great power and you have reigned. Clearly that's similar to the song we saw in 2 Chronicles. Then, verse 19 of Revelation 11. The temple of God was opened in heaven, and there was seen in the temple the Ark of the Covenant. And we clearly see the Ark of the Covenant in 2 Chronicles 5. Now, these are clearly things that Solomon is dedicating the house of David, the first temple. He's dedicating the altar. There are orders of things that are taking place here that we can clearly see in Revelation. Then we know in Revelation chapter 12, we have the sign of the woman clothed with the sun, right? But these symbolisms, many of which we see in the 7th month. But we have this Hanukkah, this dedication. Now they have dedicated this underground temple, this Sanhedrin council, on Hanukkah. They have dedicated this altar on Hanukkah. But the precise days they are doing so match the Enoch calendar according to 7 days after and 14 days after the 24th day of the 9th month that we see in Haggai chapter 2. It's a lot of verses. I know it's a lot of information. I'm going quickly, and I encourage you to go back to certain points and watch this again, okay? Because I know it's a lot of verses. It's a lot of things that you will have to take some time to understand, okay? This is happening right before our eyes. The altar is dedicated. The temple, aspect of the temple has been dedicated already. This has happened. Now, to conclude this video, I'm going to include the footage on the temple. Okay? I'm going to show you the temple. I'm going to show you also something really weird. In this temple is this weird thing of Helena. It's this idol. There's nothing else to call it. Okay? They put in the temple. So you'll see that in their presentation. I'll show you another little clip on that as we conclude. So guys, I encourage you to go over this. The temple, aspects of the temple have been dedicated. The altar has been dedicated. This is happening, okay? This is Bible prophecy being fulfilled to the precise day according to the scriptures. So the Most High be all the praise, honor, and glory. Watch this temple presentation we saw and also this other weird thing. God bless you.
25:8. This is a positive Torah commandment waiting in every generation to be fulfilled by Israel. The Temple Institute is dedicated to all aspects of promoting the Holy Temple and raising the consciousness of the Jewish people and the entire world as to the central role that the Temple plays in the life of mankind. For the Holy Temple, as described by every prophet of Israel, is nothing less than the spiritual center of all humanity and the focal point of man's direct, unfolding relationship with God. queen who embraced the God of Israel. The golden ornament was suspended above the entrance to the sanctuary. When the sun began to rise above Jerusalem, its rays would strike the lamp, causing a brilliant illumination that could be seen far and wide. This was the indication that the time had arrived to recite the morning Shema prayers. Display number 23. The holiest spot in the world, only one man set, once a year. Picture number 34. The high priest on the Day of Atonement. Actually, over the course of the Day of Atonement, Yom Kippur, the Kohen Gadol entered into the Holy of Holies 4 times. The first time he entered was to offer the incense, as is depicted in the painting at right by the exit. The high priest would place the incense on top of the foundation stone, which is the foundation of creation.